Hello, I'm Jeremy Nicholas. Welcome to the After Dinner Show. And my guests tonight are, and you can see them all on the windows there. We've got Jackie Barrie, who's a copywriter who writes without waffle. Hi, Jackie.
Hi, Jem.
Hi, we've got Adrienne Gibson, all the way from Alabama, like Forrest Gump. She kept on running all the way to London. Hi, Adrienne.
Hi.
And we've got Lee Warren, who's a speaker and award-winning author. Hi, Lee.
Very good evening.
Fantastic. Good to see you all. So let's just clear this up, Lee. What was the award that you won with your book? What was that big prize?
Well, I'm just tidying my desk. Actually, I'm just moving some. That's that appears to be my award. Just hanging around. My book was the highly commended finalist at Business Book of the Year Awards 2019.
Oh, right. So when you say award winning, what you mean is award finalist.
I was the first of the losers.
Yeah. Yes, that's good. No, but it's good to have a tidy up, isn't it? It's good to have a tidy up. Oh, what's that there? Oh, the Professional Speaking Award of Excellence. Good
why
Lord,
is it broken?
Well, if you ever get one, you will know how hard it is to keep them on your shelf without them falling off. Right, so let's just so the rules are this: everyone has to tell a true story, and it has to be from first-hand experience, and you have to have had your dinner. So can I just get nods of confirmation that yes, right? Let's just clear up the dinner. Adrienne, what have you had for your dinner?
Jeremy, I knew the rules of your show that I had to be honest, so I brought evidence of my dinner, and I'm embarrassed to admit.
Oh no. Okay, so it's very healthy.
Honesty of the show. There you go.
That's good. Jackie, what have you got? Hopefully something a bit healthier than that.
I'm not sure. It was a curry. Prawn curry.
Oh, was it? Right. Sorry, you froze slightly. So it was a frozen curry, was it? A frozen curry. That's good.
Prawn curry. I'll have to
prawn curry. But you froze in the middle, so I just thought it might have been frozen. Okay. That's good. And Lee, what have you had? Or are you having?
I've conceptually had dinner because I had some chocolate. I tend to eat very late, but I nibbled some chocolate. Yeah.
Okay. What time will you eat then?
Normally about 9:30, something like that. So we live on very Mediterranean hours here.
Right. Okay. So let me just check here. So when you say award winning, it's award finalist, and when you say you've had your dinner, you will have your dinner at some point.
Yeah, nibble.
Good.
Yeah.
But it's great to have you all on. Right. Let's get a true story. Shall we kick off with a true story? What is that you've got there, Lee? What's going on?
I'm having my drink.
All right. What is your drink again?
Oh, it's a nice Barolo.
Barolo, right? Okay.
Yeah,
and, we see a wine there from Jackie, or a wine glass. We don't know what's in it. I've got Glenfiddich whiskey. I'm trying tonight. You've got, what is that?
Mine is a gin and tonic, Jeremy, but it's special because it's with my Auburn University emblem on the glass. So keeping with my
Auburn. So that's
a gin and tonic.
Fantastic. Auburn University, that's like the second best university in Alabama, isn't it? Behind University of Alabama, it's like the second best for that.
Sorry, we're cutting out, Jeremy. I can't hear what you're saying.
Yes, I know. I know they're the big rivals in American football between those. Right, okay. Jackie, do you want to kick us off? You've got a wedding story, I believe is your true story. Kick us off.
Right. I was due to be in Australia in March. Well, clearly that happened. But 20 years ago, I was there. It was my cousin's wedding. And at that time, Perth in Western Australia had more millionaires per square mile than anywhere else on Earth. And she married one of them. They were called yachties because they all liked yachts. But anyway, the wedding was on their property in a big quay with 100 guests. And some of us were invited to stay over in a big cottage they had on their land. So I went to the wedding. We had a lovely time. About 2 o'clock in the morning, still dancing away on the dance floor, I asked the bride and groom where I should go to sleep. And they said, go down to the cottage and pick any bed you fancy. Down to the cottage, and I tried the first room, and it was full of people sleeping. And they were all grumbling at me and saying, absolutely no room, you've got to go somewhere else. Tried the next door, same thing. Bit like the nativity store, there was no room at the inn. So I tried again, really couldn't find anywhere. Every inch of sofa space had sleeping bodies. Opened another door, and there was a 4-poster bed in there and no people. And I've been probably tasting a little bit of Australian wine through the evening, and my brain said to me, oh, the bride and groom said, pick any bed you fancy, and I quite fancy this one. So I got in it and I went to sleep. A couple of hours later, I was roused by the sound of somebody else coming into and trying doors one by one and getting the same grumbling response from the sleeper inside. And then the door handle turned from that I was in. And there was a perfectly polite but strange gentleman at the door who begged me to sleep in the bed with me as long as he promised to stay safely on the other side. And I was so sleepy I didn't argue, and so I agreed. Sure enough, he stayed safely on the other side of the bed and we both went to sleep. Now that's the bit nobody believes, but I swear that's true.
Yeah, no, we believe you. We believe you.
Okay, thanks. Couple later, heard all the door handles going again, and this time some from the room that we were in. I heard them grunt, and then they shut the door and went away again. A couple of hours later, by then at 8 o'clock in the morning, I woke up. My bedroom buddy had disappeared, never even knew his name, and got up and went for breakfast with the bride and groom and their remaining guests. Well, sure enough, it turned out I had gone to sleep in the marital bed. Luckily, the happy couple had decided to stay up dancing all night, so that didn't matter. But what might have mattered was the fact that my bedroom buddy was a happily married man who was supposed to have gone home to his wife, and the final person to try the door in the morning was his mother, who had been sent to look for him. And this caused a big scandal in Perth yachty society, to the extent that when I got home, my cousin told me I had been featured in their equivalent of Hello magazine and described as the mystery brunette.
Okay. So you were like the hottie with the yachty.
How long have you been working on that line?
Oh, about a minute ago. I thought I've got to have something to come off the back of it. I thought in case there's a disappointing ending, I need a funny line. But no, that was a good ending. That was a good ending. So have you ever been back there to try and meet that gentleman?
Not to meet the gentleman. I have been back to Australia, yes.
Fantastic. So if anyone from any Perth newspapers are watching, you are that mysterious woman that was in that yachting world or whatever the thing was. God, those were the days. Those were the days when we were allowed to travel to places, weren't they?
Exactly. That was where I was meant to be running a training course last month, and obviously that's not happening. So I look forward to being allowed of the country one day.
Yes, brilliant.
I love the house.
Okay, just before we go to Lee for story, I'm getting people saying that I'm saying Adrienne's name wrong and that it should be Adrienne, but it's not. It's Adrienne, isn't it? I know you well enough to know your name is Adrienne, isn't it? Why?
Well, considering that England is the only country in the world where they tell me how to pronounce my own name, I'm just going to leave it with you, Jeremy, to say it however you like. But I will say my mom says it's Adrienne, even if that is the boy's name from an English standard.
Do you get Brits coming up going, no, that's not how you say it, it's Adrienne?
I do indeed. They come up to me and say, oh, no, surely it's not Adrienne. That's a boy's name. It would be Adrienne. And my response is typically, well, I'm not sure how you want to pronounce it. But when I came out, my mom said it was Adrienne, and I've just gone with that for the last almost 50 years.
I had a girlfriend once whose name was Sarah, but it was spelled S-A-R-A, like Sarah. And when I brought her home from university, she said her name was Sarah. And one of my sisters said, yeah, but there's no H, is there? So that you should pronounce that Sarah. Exactly like you said, British people telling, and her family were Welsh, and apparently that's the Welsh spelling of Sarah is without an H.
Apparently it went well for you, Jeremy.
Yeah, no, it did go really well. Lee, does your name ever get mispronounced, Lee?
My mother you didn't ask me about my proper drink.
What is your proper drink? Sorry.
Lychee martini, by the way. I found these, they send them through the post. It's perfect lockdown stuff, and you don't have to go to any of the nonsense of mixing them. They send boxes of these bottled up cocktails. No, my mum deliberately gave me my name. She wanted a name that nobody can change. You cannot lengthen it or shorten it in any meaningful way, and you cannot mispronounce it. It was a very deliberate decision in 1971. That's her story.
Yeah. Whereas my name, people just always get wrong all the time. And my family always call me Jem. My London friends call me Jel. My Northern friends call me Jez. And I just say it's Jeremy. But my family only call me Jeremy if I'm in trouble. Apart from my mum, who always calls me Jeremy, and my nana always calls me Jeremy, but the rest of them call me Jem. And but so if Dad says Jeremy, come here, I think, right, there's trouble. I've obviously done something horrendously wrong. But he's 83 and I can run away now, so that's fine. Let's go to another story. So we're covering things that we used to be able to do in the world. So we used to be able to go to Australia. We used to be able to go on planes. And Lee, I know you're a great flyer.
Oh, you want the airplane story? Okay.
Yes, I'll hold up the sign. Do the airplane story.
Airplane story.
Let's make it look like it's really fun.
I do miss the experience of being in airports in the main. In 2006, I wrote the libretto for an opera that was commissioned by the Almeida Theatre in North London. I wrote the libretto.
Brilliant. Did that win any awards?
It got more stars than Madonna the same week in the Guardian Culture Supplement, I'd like you to know. And
good response. Yes, good comeback. Aggressive question, well fielded.
I was described by the Times as a witty postmodern librettist, which I was very pleased with. Anyway, that's not the story, right? That's not the story. That's the build up to the story. And
I'm afraid that's all we've got time for. Lee Warren, thanks for joining us. No, go on.
Jem, if I don't carry on, both your viewers will be disappointed, I suspect. So let's.
My mom is one of them. Let's not upset her, okay?
Say it again.
Anyway, is your mum watching back in Alabama?
She might be. We'll see, Jeremy. I have to see. If you beat Jeopardy, this is a really prime position.
Fantastic. Okay. Well, if we can get confirmation she is listening, I will do my Forrest Gump impression. Back to Lee. Yeah, just see if Adrienne's mum is okay.
Anyway, so as a result of that, Ray, the composer that I worked with, and we were invited to go to a place called Bregenz on the shores of Lake Como on the Austrian German border, and the challenge was write an opera in a week. If we fly you there, will you write an opera in a week for our festival? And so we leapt at this chance, but being an opera company, excuse me, they had no budget, so we were flown. The one and only time I've ever flown with this airline, and I'll call them Jetways, and that's not their real name. Their real name's Ryanair. And we flew from Stansted. It was a horrific experience. It was a terrible. Everything about it was horrible, and the flight was crammed, and there was a little fanfare when we arrived, and we hated every second of the experience. This was 2007, so everyone had the internet, but not as fast or anything as now. So when we were due to fly back at the end of the week, we wrote a little mini opera, and very, very proud of it. And we were due to fly back, and I said to Ray, look, let's get on the internet. We must be able to buy some form of VIP experience on this flight, you know. And we found this, the equivalent of speedy boarding on EasyJet. I think it was called priority boarding or something. So we bought this thing for 10 euros each. And we got back to Bregenz Airport, which is an old, clearly an ex-military airport, this tiny sort of shed in the middle of nowhere. And it was horrible and cramped. And the departure lounge is only big enough for one airplane full of people. So unless your plane's the next up, you have to wait outside the airport. So we were waiting. It was all very stressful. And finally, we were let into the departure lounge because our flight was up next. And it was cramped and horrible and miserable. And we could see there was this big glass sort of wall, and we could see our plane on the tarmac. We were at ground floor level. And so we walked in with our priority passes. We printed them off the internet. We were very proud of them. And as we were there in this crowded room, we just didn't know where to go. There was no system, no structure. And one of the two women running the lounge made an announcement into a microphone that none of us could hear. And everyone went nuts, and people started picking up bags and throwing kids over their shoulders and going mental. And I was a bit cross about this. And I said to Ray, look, come on, let's go and stand near these two big glass doors. That's obviously where we're all going. Let's just go to the front. We paid for this. So we went and stood there. And then suddenly these two other wooden doors that we hadn't noticed were opened, and 300 people just piled through these wooden doors, and I was really cross. I was stressed anyway, and really crossed. And I went up to this woman with the pass. I said, "Excuse me. We paid for priority boarding," and she looked at me with a look of absolute contempt. So we're in Bregenz, Austrian-German border near Lake Como. And she picked up a microphone and she turned away from me and she said to the air, as all these people were going down this corridor, she said, "Passengers with priority boarding should wait here. The other passengers are being taken to a chamber where they will be held until you are safely on the plane. And with that, these two wooden doors slammed shut. They put like a bar down, and then the two glass doors opened, and me and Ray and two other people were guided past this long wooden corridor, like a porter cabin. And these people were in there. We could see through like the glass windows. It was like the Krypton zone from Superman shoved up. And we very nicely got on the plane, sat near the front, and that was the end of the story.
You've never flown with them again?
First and only time.
How much was that priority pass?
I think it was about €10 or so. I can't remember exactly, but it was
right.
it was insignificant compared to the other.
But you expect quite an experience for €10, don't you? So perhaps
not the chamber.
That's brilliant. Lovely story. Adrienne, do we have confirmation that your mum is viewing?
I'm texting her now. I think she's going online, so we'll have confirmation shortly that Mom has joined. So we're
right.
staying.
But we're clashing with Jeopardy, which I believe is a quiz show, is it?
No, I've had to take her away from Jeopardy, but she is going online, so we'll see. Hopefully we'll hear from her soon.
Yeah, but I think in the time of lockdown, we all need to be protecting our parents from Jeopardy, because it's tough times. So that was a good line. I might use that. When will I ever use that again? I don't think I will. Adrienne, have you got a story for us?
I do, Jeremy. I do. Luckily.
Brilliant. Okay.
So in the theme of the things that we can't do when we're in lockdown, I was reminiscing about the days when I used to actually wear proper business clothes to work, as opposed to an appropriate top and yoga pants, for example, because on Zoom calls, you don't need anything else. And I was reminiscing about when I was in Canary Wharf in East London. Oh, Jeremy, this is an important news break.
Yes.
As a broadcaster, I know you appreciate the importance of a news break. We just have confirmation. Mom is officially watching. So shout out to my mom.
Okay, let's get everyone waving. Hello, Mom in Alabama. Hi, Mom. How are you doing? Welcome to London, England, and you don't even need a passport.
Woohoo!
Woohoo! So Adrienne was just in the middle of a really interesting story, which hasn't really got going yet, if I'm honest, Mum. But let's see how she does.
Not yet, but give it time. I'm a slow build, but worth it, right? So I was reminiscing about the days when I used to actually wear proper business attire and go to meetings and travel into London, etc. And I used to be in Canary Wharf. For any of you who have been in London, Canary Wharf has a pace and a life of its own. It's very fast paced. Very business oriented, and sometimes some may say a little bit homogenous in that whole suited, booted kind of environment.
Can I just say you've gone a little bit quiet? I don't know why you've suddenly gone quiet. Is it possible to boost your microphone a little bit or something?
Is it? Jeremy, why have I never been quiet?
Well, that's what I was thinking. It's not like you suddenly be quiet, but it's like almost like as soon as we got the news flash that your mum was on, you went a little bit quiet, as though you were being told off for singing.
Mom did always say I was being a bit too loud, so maybe that just kind of was.
Yeah, still a little bit quiet though. Do you know how to turn up your audio settings in the bit between mute and stop video? There's a thing called audio settings, and you can manually drag the output volume, the input volume to the right hand side. That would do it a little bit. Do you want me to tell a funny story just while you sort that out? Because
sure, if I'm that quiet, I'm
well, let's just yeah, she's a bit quiet, isn't she? Jackie, would you say she's a bit quiet? Yeah, in fact, we'll come back to you. Let's go to Jackie because Jackie wants to talk about whiskey, because I'm a bit of a whiskey man. Just while Adrienne's sorting her levels out, you've got a whiskey connection, Jackie, haven't you?
It's also a connection with awards and winning of, but not me, it's my brother, because here you'll see that boutique whiskey company has launched with my brother on the label. The reason is he is world Tiddlywinks champion, and
your brother is the world Tiddlywinks champion.
Yes, indeed.
Brilliant. What's his name?
His name Dr. Patrick Barrie.
Oh,
and
okay.
you buy Dr. Patrick Barrie whiskey with a cartoon of my brother on the label, limited edition, and there is the place you can buy it, the Boutique Whiskey Company.
The Boutique Whiskey Company, brilliant. Well, what a winker he is.
He is. He used to edit the magazine, the Winker magazine.
Winker's World. Fantastic. Jackie, thanks so much for sharing that. I'm on Glenfiddich tonight, by the way. Right, let's go back to Adrienne. Have you boosted your levels, Adrienne?
I have, Jeremy.
Oh, that's so much better. Yes, it would have been a shame.
It is a very rare occasion in my 49 years that anyone ever tells me to speak up. So we need to record this, right?
Yeah. And if you want to have
Jen, yeah, that was a hint. 49, no, surely not.
Thank you, Lee, for cooperating. I did notice when you said 1971, I was going to comment that it was a good year.
Right. So you've been living in the UK for 49 years, you say?
Not quite.
No. Anyway, I made it when I was a kid, and adults used to talk about ages and all laugh about, oh, you won't guess how old. I always made a thing. I would never, ever comment on someone's age once I was an adult. And I have never done that in all my 57 years. Now, let's go back to Kingston for your story.
My reminiscing of my days in Canary Wharf when I was actually wearing business attire to do my work, right, and missing it. And there was a particular day that I went in for some meetings, and you know how it is when you have one of those days you think, I actually look really good. I'm really impressed. I'm feeling quite confident today. And it was a cold day, and I had this pretty big outer coat on. It was a really long outer coat. But because I felt really confident about what I was wearing, I decided I wanted to take the coat off and hold it as I walked through Canary Wharf. And in this area was like a shopping center, whatever, fast paced, lots of business people mingling about, etc., and moving about. And I was walking with this probably a little bit overconfidence, if I'm being really honest, walking through the shopping center and feeling quite proud of myself that day. And I get up to the spa where I'm going in for a treatment, and I'm getting prepared because I'm going for a massage. And I realize as I go to take off my very fitted pencil skirt that I had apparently at some point during my travels up to Canary Wharf that day busted the zipper. And so all of this confidence of taking off the coat and walking through with pride, the back of my skirt had been hanging open about this long. And let's just say if CCTV had recorded any of that, it would have been a rather embarrassing moment of mooning all of Canary Wharf. Yeah, so that probably overcompensated. I think it was a karmic moment between my overconfidence and the fact that the back of my skirt had been open the entire time.
Oh, God. And I'm just there's a funny line I'm resisting saying.
Me too.
Is it the one that people in Ireland would say? But
not what I was thinking.
Not
of,
that one.
anyway,
No, right? Okay.
After you've got
yes, I'm resisting.
If you ever resisted the funny line, that's priceless.
I don't know, but I'm just here for the crack. So there we are. Oh, it's come out. It's just slipped out. That was the line that I had to do, wasn't it? So anyway, lovely to have your mum on here. Did you all see the news?
She's probably not having a very proud moment that's the story I chose to tell right now.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mom, love you.
She'll be very proud. She'll be on the phone and saying, Adrienne, what were you thinking? Did you see the news today that Elon Musk and his partner Grimes, who apparently is a singer, I thought Grimes was actually a type of music, but apparently it's a singer, a Canadian, I think she might be. And Elon Musk, the eccentric South African millionaire guy, the Tesla guy, they've had a baby, and they've named the baby, you can't even pronounce it. It's like XAE-12. That's the baby's name. So I thought we'd have a bit of a theme on what's the strangest name you've ever come across in your travels. Does anyone have one to kick us off? Jackie's nodding.
When I used to have a team of employees, of them, Joe Short, her parents were Mr. and Mrs. King, as the Joe King.
Joe King, you must be joking. So people must say, "Oh, you must be joking" all the time. That sounds like a made up one. Like when people say they had someone at their school called Annette Curtin, you just think, no, pull yourself together. That can't be right. But Joe King, yeah. That's a good one. That would be a good name for a comic, wouldn't it? Do you have one, Adrienne, of a strange name you've got?
Actually, I now have two, because Jackie reminded me back in the early to mid 90s, I was working in a local hospital in Alabama, and there was a story of a lady who had given birth in the hospital. And she had given her son a very unusual name. His name was Nosmo King. And they asked her, how did you come up with the name of Nosmo King? And she said, well, as she was being wheeled into the delivery room, she saw a sign above. And that just gave her the influence for Nosmo King. No smoking.
But that's a joke, isn't it? Because there was a music hall performer in London before the war called Nosmo King. So I think that might just be a joke that you've fallen for.
Jokes from England made it to Alabama, Jeremy? I mean, come on.
Yeah, I think a lot of them originated in Alabama. A lot of Morecambe and Wise' old jokes were written by old Alabamans.
Given the rules of the show, everything has to be truthful. I did know a lady named Princess, and she was not part of the royal family.
So her first name was Princess.
Princess.
Shocking.
Okay, and why? And did people, use that ironically, or what happened with that?
Sadly, no.
No.
She's taken as a bit of a norm for me.
I remember there was an episode of Friends when Phoebe Buffet changed her name to Princess Consuela Banana Hammock, I think. I remember rightly. Do you remember that episode? Very good. And then Mike, who she was marrying, was so annoyed that he said he was going to change his name to Crap Bag if she didn't change it back. I apologize if I got any of those wrong, but that seems to me how I remember it. Lee, have you got one?
Yeah, you just reminded me, there's that wonderful Victoria Wood line from Acorn Antiques where one of the characters loses her memory and the other one says, I met that woman, I can't remember. What was her name again? Mary Louise Francine Dubois. Kills me, that line, every time. I met a musician once called Stephen Darcy Trinkwam. Isn't that a great name, Stephen Darcy Trinkwam? And I promise, hand on heart, this is true. I met someone who was one half of a couple called Kate and Sydney Pye.
No. Kate and Sydney Pye? No, that's
Catherine and Sydney Pye. Yep, absolutely true. Yeah.
I'm not having that. That is a sketch. That's a sketch that you've woken up and you think that it's happened.
Listen, would you believe anything that's happened in 2020 if someone else wrote it for you?
No, I wouldn't. When I was the stadium announcer at West Ham, London's top football team, for anyone watching in Alabama, it's the Premier League's #1 side. And we played Watford one time, and a guy came into the announcer's booth about an hour before kickoff. I was the announcer. I had to read out the teams, and he saw the team sheet and he pointed and said, that one for Watford is pronounced Micah Hyde. It's not Mika, it's Micah Hyde. And I thought, that's nice, because he had an official Watford blazer on and everything. So I trusted him. And so I said, oh, thank you very much. I'm Jeremy, by the way. And he said, yeah, I'm Micah Hyde. And it was him. It was the footballer himself. And before every game, because he didn't like being called Mika, he went to the stadium announcer and found him and told him how to pronounce the name. So a lovely little story there. Just before we start wrapping this up, you've got an emergency Russian story, haven't you, Lee? How short is that? Could we fit that in? Is that?
I can tell it very quickly. I used to be, so the very quick version is, I used to be a professional magician, and I used to work in a purple velvet suit. It was sort of part of my brand, and people would always talk about the purple magician. And I was the resident magician at the Dorchester Hotel for a long time. And so I used to get all their requests for work. And I got this request, can you do a gig at 7:30 in the morning? And I thought this was a wind up. And turned out it was a Russian guy and his wife. They were celebrating their first year anniversary, and his wife loved magic. So he wanted to book a magician to turn up on the morning of their first wedding anniversary and perform magic for them in their hotel room at the Dorchester. And so I turned up in a purple velvet suit, and we had the contract and everything. And I knocked on the door, and this guy opened the door in his dressing gown, and he looked at me, and I looked at him, and I was wearing a purple velvet suit, and he said, whatever yes is in Russian, so nodded his head, can't remember, da or something. And I said, hello, I'm Lee Warren. And he said, yeah, I'm here to do magic for you. Yeah. Do you want to let me in? Okay. And I went into the room and I heard the sound of a shower going. And I said, and he didn't speak almost any English at all, and I don't speak any Russian. And I said, oh, is that your wife in the shower? Yeah. Okay. am I a surprise for your wife? Surprise. Okay, so she doesn't know I'm here? No. She's naked in the shower? Yeah. And she doesn't know? No. Anyway, so I had to send him off, basically get his wife to put on a dressing gown. She came out. There were no chairs in this room, so the two of them sat at the end of their bed. I had to stand in front of them and for an hour, do romantic-themed close-up magic to two people who didn't speak a word of English. About 20 minutes into this, she was very grateful, very happy that he'd bought magic for her, and she started to demonstrate her affection to this man in a dressing gown. And after about 15 minutes of this, I had to go very quickly to my finale before they reached their finale and get out of the room. That's the short version of that story.
Well, I think we get the picture. Well, good Lord. Yes. They were certainly Russian. It sort of works.
Was watching.
Yes. Don't do that when it's not.
My mom was watching.
What, she was there too? Oh my God. Even weirder.
She was behind the curtain.
Stars fell in Alabama.
Look at those Russians go. My God, what's going on here?
Oh, honestly,
Sorry, I'm imagining that's what your mum might sound like. I only based it on watching Forrest Gump, the movie. That's all the experience I have of Alabama. Just one other thing I wanted to ask everyone. This is the best thing that I've ever been given for speaking at an event. And I'm sure you're all familiar with this. It's a model of a still forklift truck. And it's quite a fancy one. Comes with a pallet. And it used to. Had it about 10 years, go up and down quite well. But I spoke for Still Logistics about 3 times. I did their conference, and they gave me that. And I just wondered, what's the best thing you've ever been given at work? That's not money, but some kind of a thing. And I'll come to Lee last, because I know that someone once at a gig gave him something, and that's why I wanted to put this little feature in. I hope you've got your little thing available, Lee. You have. Good.
Always.
It's always available. A little thing that Lee was given by an adoring fan at a gig. Adrienne, Jackie, I perhaps should have warned you about this. Do you have, let's go to Jackie first. Do you have something that someone gave you that was not money?
I was at a wine bar locally a couple of weeks after having given a presentation locally. And when you're the one at the front of the room, you don't necessarily know all the faces that are in but they all knew. And this stranger, as far as I was concerned, in the wine bar came up and started stroking my arm. She grabbed me by the hand and let go, and she kept stroking my arm, saying how she'd already acted on the advice given about changing her website and such, like the difference it had made, and she wouldn't let go, and she kept stroking and it started being but ended up and strange. So yeah, that was it. That was a non-money gift that was
an arm stroking. Yes, that's certainly be a non-money thing. Okay, Adrienne, can you beat an arm stroking?
I might be able to. So in my past life, I was doing corporate HR work for quite a long time, and sadly, one of the jobs I had to do was to do redundancies. And there was a gentleman that I'd been introduced to, never knew him before, but I was the person who was being put forward to have to make him redundant. And I did. And, I was kind and compassionate about it and so on, etc. And I mentioned to him when we were chatting that there was a bake sale coming up, etc. And the gentleman, after I informed him of his upcoming redundancy, baked me a cake. That I could, yes, baked me a cake. So I was given a cake by a guy I just made redundant.
And did you then say, "Oh, only joking, you can have your job back"?
No, I was too scared to eat it because I didn't know if there was arsenic in the cake. But I accepted it with grace, of course.
Yeah. I used to get sent cakes when I used to be on the radio. Listeners used to bake me cakes and leave them at reception. And I just thought there could be broken glass in there. You never know what sort of nutter there could be. Anyway, we need to wrap it up. But Lee, show us this thing, because this for me is one of the greatest things that a speaker has ever been presented with after a gig.
It's a delight, and she's so talented, the lady that made it. But I was presented with little Lee, And bearing in mind, I often have a purple suit on, and there he is. She knit. Look at the eyes, right? I mean, she's
done
the deathly pallor.
Yeah,
I hope, but yeah, there he is, little Lee, and he just accompanies me everywhere I go.
Yeah, and you've never presumably opened your eyes fully. You know, you're like a kitten that's just come blinking into the world that has never really had
an ingenue.
Yeah. Brilliant. Okay, well, we're out of time. I always give my guests a chance to plug anything they've got coming up or any services that they have. Let's start with Jackie. Do you want to plug anything, Jackie?
We'll plug a new pre-recorded 3 hours for recruiters, copywriting for now available at copywritingforrecruiters.com.
Copywritersforrecruiters.com, and that's an online program for people.
For recruiters.
Right. Okay. Well, and we'll put a link to that in the YouTube of this, just in case anyone hasn't got a pen on them. Adrienne, do you want to plug anything?
Not particularly, Jeremy, because given the fact that we aren't speaking nowadays, I've been moving more into consulting, but I do have an ebook coming out on Kindle soon, which is completely nonprofit. It's going to be for charity, called Leading Through the Heart of a Storm. And it's how to help support leaders and businesses with how to lead through change and crisis. So that should be coming out hopefully next week. So stay tuned for that, and more information on my website, adriennegibson.com.
When you said we're not speaking anymore, I thought, well, if we had an argument, I don't remember.
No, you and I aren't speaking, Jeremy. I just publicized that to the world.
Because there's so much ups and downs in the world in lockdown, isn't it? They call it the Corona coaster. It's going on. But no, you mean that professional speakers aren't speaking very much, and we're all having to find other jobs. I had a dream the other night that I couldn't get any speaking work at all, and I'd had to become an Uber driver. And then I woke up and I thought, well, what a ridiculous choice that would be, because presumably if you can't speak, that Uber driving, they're not going to let people do that, are they? Anyway, it's not true. I am still available for speaking or for driving to airports if they should ever reopen. I'm available. I live very near Heathrow. Lee, what would you like to plug? Any purple magic?
I don't really have anything to plug, to be honest. I mean, speaking my business is now becoming 100% online, and I've got my clients I've always had forever, and they we've all stuck together. So I mean, if anyone wants to buy my book, they can find it very easily. If you type my name, Lee Warren, and book into Google, you'll find it. It's called The Busy Person's Guide to Great Presenting. Slightly embarrassingly, the chapter on virtual presenting is quite short in that book, so I've got to rewrite that one. But otherwise it's good.
Yeah. How short is it?
It's 4 pages. And because the whole point of the book is it's for busy people, right? It's like a crash course. So the first tip for busy people is don't present virtually. So that tip is dated slightly. Yeah.
You can title the new version post-COVID-19 version.
Yeah, now online.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you've desperately got to get a second edition out for that, Lee. I think by the looks of it. And who knows? Well, why don't you write a new one and then have another crack at winning that best book award?
Well, I just do you mean this massive award here that sits on my desk?
Yeah. Brilliant. Okay, well, thank you so much for sharing it. Thanks to all my viewers all across the world in parts of the United States of America. How exciting is that? And but mainly just people I know in and around the London area.
And my mom.
Yeah, and your mum. What's your mum called, by the way?
Brenda.
Brenda, lovely to see you. You must be very proud of your daughter and her very impressive story. See, next week on the show, I asked people, of all my guests so far, who would you like me to have back? And everyone voted, but we couldn't get them. So Stuart Harris is coming back, who was on about show 2 or 3, and he's going to do a whiskey tasting. He's going to show us how to do a whiskey tasting. So that will be really good. And Deborah Henley's coming on, and Sarah Fox is coming on. So it'll be a cracking show. 8 o'clock on YouTube next week. But for now, from me, Jeremy Nicholas, from Lee, from Jackie, and from Adrienne, good night from London. Good night.
Bye, guys.